is Zoe from the Whisper Tree, and in this video I'm going to be talking about our disconnection and reconnection to our higher self, our spirit self. So first of all, I believe that in the Western world many of us have this sense of disconnection, this separateness from the God, Goddess, or our spirit self. I don't believe it's so common in the Eastern cultures because of their culture, their faith, their beliefs, that many have not disconnected, that they're very much still connected to their spirit self. And this disconnection can manifest itself in different ways for many of us. That we may have a lack of fulfillment, a feeling that we're not truly satisfied. So we may have a job that we've kind of completely identified ourselves with, but always have that feeling that it's not truly fulfilling ourselves. And this is because of this sense of disconnection that doesn't allow us to truly know who we are. We can sometimes have a real sense of hopelessness in times of struggle because we have no faith that the situation will resolve itself. We can sometimes have a complete inability to make life-changing decisions or big decisions because we have no sense of self or no connection to our intuition and no faith. So it becomes very difficult for us. We may listen to other people and get advice, but it might not be right for us. What's right for them may not be right for us. We can sometimes have a very strong attachment to material possessions. So that's the fast cars, the bigger houses, the brand names, the designer stuff, because we have this void in us that we're trying to fill with different things. Or sometimes we can be very, very busy. You see these people that are always doing things or going places or, chatting constantly because they don't want to be faced with the inevitable of that void within them that, they know deep down they have a disconnection, but they don't know how to fill it. They don't know how to fill this void. And sometimes this disconnection could just simply manifest itself as a sense of grief. And I feel a lot of us have that within us, and it manifests itself as a very strong feeling of grief over losing an aspect of ourselves or losing a past relationship or, a grief for a loved one, or just a grief of disconnection itself and the disconnection of from the Goddess. And we would feel those things. We would feel grief, obviously, for a loved one if we'd lost one. But, sometimes it feels so strong. And I feel that it's kind of tapping into this disconnection from the Goddess or our spiritual self, our higher self. And I believe this grief and this disconnectedness goes right back to past lifetimes. Many of us will have had past lifetimes where we suffered a disconnection, and even to the past lifetimes of Lemuria and Atlantis. And I'm sure many of you have heard of Atlantis, maybe not so much of a Lemuria. Lemuria predates Atlantia, and this is where we have bodies of light. We didn't have physical bodies because they were way too dense for us. And then as we started to integrate our light body, our bodies of light, into our physical bodies, this is when Atlantis was birthing and came into existence. And at the time of Atlantis, we were incredibly connected. We were very spiritual beings. We knew how to harness the power of crystals and higher vibrational energies and frequencies of nature to self-heal. We were very much in alignment with our higher selves and our destiny and purpose. So we were very powerful beings, very spiritual. But as time went on, ego got in the way and we wanted more control, more power. And there was this abuse of power to the point where Atlantis collapsed. And we've seen this in different civilizations. It's quite cyclical, really. And it leads to the fall, the demise of the civilization. And this is where Atlantis then supposedly collapsed and went under the sea. And where Atlantis was is now where the Bermuda Triangle exists. And I always find that very fascinating because we hear of hundreds of ships kind of disappearing without trace, or aircraft disappearing, and those that have kind of lived to tell the tale of reported strange sightings or weird unexpected weather patterns and odd occurrences. And you hear of their reports of their radar equipment going awry, and I believe that there is probably some portal that's still open from the times of Lemuria. So there's a lot of activation around that area, a lot of electromagnetic frequency which interferes with the radar equipment. But anyhow, supposedly, what was left of this ancient civilization of Atlantis was taken or guided by Thoth, a past ascended master, and taken to what is now known as ancient Egypt. And this is where I believe they created and started to build these pyramids, or what I see as light chambers, so that the connection could carry on, the connection to other realms, and light body travel, all this sort of thing could go on. And I don't believe the pyramids were simply burial chambers. I believe there was some sort of portals and into different dimensions. So it's all very exciting, all very, very fascinating. So as we've kind of discussed, this disconnection that we all have, and whether it predates to past lifetimes, or even to Atlantis, Lemuria, or ancient Egypt, we all have very much this disconnection within us. And it's, as I said, it manifests itself in different ways. And I know for me, when I watch films where those, tragic events occur within the film, or when I hear something on the news, where something awful, terrible has happened, I feel a real kind of overwhelming sense of grief for those people, and for those tragic events. And although it is awful, I guess it's a good release sometimes for, especially with films, that we can get that this feeling of grief comes up to heal and to be released. And sometimes I feel we go through the difficult times, and it's I'm starting to see it as a way to kind of heal this disconnectedness, because in these times we try and reconnect a little bit, I feel, whether we're aware of it or not, and this disconnectedness, this grief, it comes up to heal, so that we can then, if we choose to, reconnect to the light, reconnect to our spirit selves. And you hear about people who've had these kind of near-death experiences, or were actually clinically dead, but then were obviously resuscitated, and you hear them talking about this light, this beautiful, strong light that they were completely surrounded by, that felt very, very peaceful. And I believe they were reconnecting to the light, because they were going for this death rebirth, or obviously they rebirth, but they transitioned and they went through and they reconnected to the light. And I believe that, we come from the light when we're born, but we reconnect to the light when we die. And I feel a very nice way of seeing it, and seeing that death process. So I feel that we don't necessarily have to die to reconnect. So this is part of the death rebirth, process. And this is why it feels so intense for a lot of us. We don't have to die physically. We just kind of, it's about honouring the process, allowing old patterns and behaviours to kind of die, to then reconnect to the light. And I feel we can reconnect to the light and do more of this in this lifetime in different ways. So I was going to suggest a few ways for us to do. So firstly, I believe we have to be very aware of how we're thinking and feeling in any given moment. We have to be very present in order to reconnect to our spirit selves. Also bringing in feelings of love, this very high vibrational feeling of love will help us reconnect to our higher self, to our spirit self. Because when we probably fell in love for the very first time, we were really energized, everything, we were just in this really high, on a high. We could cope without sleep. We weren't ill. Because love, pure love, has a very high vibration. Also not allowing ourselves to attach to those denser moments will help us to reconnect into our higher selves as well. Running energy as well is a really good way to have more of this reconnection to our spirit self. And trying to raise the frequency of our homes by running energy on our homes or in our homes, or using resins or saging as well is very good to shift the energy and supports us in our reconnection. Also going out for walks helps us to reconnect to nature and feel those higher vibrational frequencies. So this helps us to reconnect to our higher selves. And also just connecting, to high vibrational things, like having things like plants in our homes, or going to places that feel nice, not going to places that don't feel nice. It can be as simple as that, or see it as simply as that. But it's because you're connecting into the higher vibrational frequencies of the place. You go to these places and it feels so dense and negative, and I think we need to, when we're trying to reconnect to our higher self, go to places that will support that reconnection. So when we're reconnecting to the light, we're going to experience it in different ways. We'll probably feel more flow and synchronicity with events when we're more in tune with our higher selves. We're probably being able to connect to our higher guides and be more in tune with our inner selves. And we're listening more to our higher guidance, to our intuition. We may be really mastering our manifestation and our ability to manifest and co-create. So when we're really connected to our spirit selves, our higher selves, we have this ability, we bring more of this ability into to manifest more of what we want. We're moving through our stuff quicker. We're letting go of these past hurts, and someone's annoyed us, we don't spend hours and days and weeks and years and months stuck in it. We're moving through it a lot quicker. We're having clarity around situations as well, so we're seeing things from a higher perspective, which is always a good thing. And this is when we know we're really connecting into our higher selves. And I mentioned it earlier, we're breaking down old negative patterns, old behaviors, ways of seeing things. So when we have any of these things, or more than one of these things, we know we're truly connecting in, and we're more in connection with our higher self, our spirit self. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you'll be able to get something out of it for you. If you do and you feel drawn, please don't forget to share or like or comment, because that always helps me and my Whisper Tree business. So blessings to all of you, and thank you.